Hi, Life Coach Landry. Questions and answers. Looks like we got 564 people in the stream right now. It's not showing on the counter for whatever reason. I use a third-party app for my chat, so it's probably why you can't see the count. Someone's asking, what should I do? I'm currently in my relationship. We're not really talking much right now, and I'm not really sure what to do. Well, that's pretty vague, but simple answer to that is be candid about your feelings, but be honest with yourself. Okay. So when I tell people to be honest with themselves, they usually think, oh, I should walk away. I mean, if we're fighting, I should be honest. We're fighting for a reason. It's actually quite the opposite. The reason that you care that you're not talking is because you're in love with the person. Okay. When you feel pain in a relationship, when it hurts, it's not because it's time for you to walk away. It's because you need to fix it. Okay. So if you're feeling pain from what's going on, you need to talk. Don't wait on the other person to contact you. My advice is contact them now. What are you waiting for? I mean, if you love them, why not call them, right? Next question is, are you married? No, I'm not married. Would I like to be married? No. When I find the right person, I'll let you know. Next question is, when are you coming to my town? Well, you didn't put what town you're in. Hartford, Connecticut. Yeah, I don't plan on going there anytime soon. Sorry. Next question is, best relationship advice I ever received. That would probably be learn how to fight well, and don't let the small stuff kill you. So in relationships, it's one of my big focal points in my videos is, a lot of people will get into fights and they will, abandon the situation early, and they really shouldn't do that. Look, fights happen. Relationships strengthen over fights. It's kind of, think about it like a workout. If I go exercise my muscles, I'm going to get sore. I'm going to feel the lactic acid hit them. And the next morning, I'm like, man, I hurt. Same thing in a relationship. When you go through a hard time, you hurt. But the idea is that when you're done, you're stronger for it. Okay. Now, if it's a reoccurring argument you keep having, you need to tackle that at some point. If it can't get solved, obviously, we all know what goes on there. Next question. Should I be best friends with my partner? No. You don't need to be best friends. Friendship is a great foundation, but then you have to move into in love mode. If you practice trying to be friends inside a relationship, you will be hugely disappointed. Being best friends with somebody is not the same as dating. Some people can't grasp this concept. Some people get it, right? The thing is you want to be best friends, right? But what do friends do that relationships don't? Number one, relationships have expectations and they're sexual. So there's intimacy. In a friendship, there is not. So what that means is there are complications in relationships that don't exist in friendships. It's great, though, if your base started as a friendship and then went into a relationship. But as long as you guide each other and you set expectations, it's usually okay. It's, you got to be careful there. That's a slippery situation. Me and my husband are fighting a lot about money. How do I navigate that? And what does this mean about my relationship? Well, number one, fighting about money is normal. Don't let that be a turnoff for you. It says a lot about your mindset. It says whether you are people who believe in spending or believe in saving. And it says a lot about your past. If you come from a very poor background, money is either going to mean a lot to you, or you're going to be in a stage where you look at money as a little bit different. Money is more about spending it to have fun because you didn't have a lot of it when you were younger. Okay. A lot of times people who grew up poor are nesters with money. Okay. It also says a lot about your aspirations. Early experiences with money can affect what we believe we're capable of. So if you got a surge of money when you're younger or hit success, it's going to make you want to do it again. It can develop you into a risk taker. Me, for example, I'm more of when people go to casinos and they always say the house always wins, I like to be the house. I don't want to be the people gambling. So it just depends what your mindset is. It will also kind of expose your fears. And it doesn't mean that you're in a bad relationship if you're working on the idea of money. What it will say is if you can't solve it, what I would say is I would take probably 2 to 3 weeks to iron out conversations about money. Good couples obviously can solve it faster. But if you take about 2 weeks of back and forth, sit down. I always say Thursdays, Wednesdays, sit down, have dinner, discuss the topic. and remind each other that you're working at a goal. So if you don't quite get what you both want at that table, it's okay because you're coming back the following Thursday. And that's a really good kind of method to get into. It works best if you live with someone. If you don't, and you're going to move in, well, then you need a time to meet, talk, coffee, whatever. So next question. My girlfriend is ultra defensive. Anytime I have something to talk about, it makes her upset. So what that tells me is she's probably feeling like when you make her feel like she's the problem, she gets very insecure kind of fast. The thing is she doesn't want to be the problem. That's what it is. She's probably what I call a self-inflictor, meaning that she's already made herself feel guilty. So when she hears it from you, it puts her in kind of a break, flight, or fight mode. And it's an unhealthy state to be in. Doesn't mean you should break up with her, but you probably need to talk about it and work on that kind of thing. My ex broke up with me, and then we talked. I decided I want to get back with him, and now I haven't heard from him. Well, that's pretty common. So a lot of times when we go through breakups, we reach out. We see if they're interested in talking again. If we hear nothing, you do 2 to 3 messages max. Doesn't matter if you do them on separate days or whatever. 2 to 3 messages max. And let them know how you feel. State your purpose. Make it very clear that you want to talk to them and you want to work things out. And remember, this isn't a game. So you really want to put yourself forward. If you get nothing back, you move on, okay? Because it leaves it in their shoulders of regret later if they loved you. If you're watching this and you're a person who didn't respond to somebody and you're thinking about it or whatnot, my advice to you would be, if you love that person, the longer you hesitate, the more likely that you'll never see them again. Now, a lot of people might go into fate. Well, maybe it wasn't meant to be. Bullshit. Life is about fucking choices, not about fate, some master plan or whatnot. There's 7 billion people on this earth and we're like a thing of ants. We're constantly moving and deciding what we want to do every day. No one is in control of that. Okay. They might be in control of the earth itself, but they're not in control of everything we're doing every day. So if you want somebody and you want to be in a relationship, quit fucking around. Don't hesitate. Call them today. Tell them how you feel and see what can happen. You'd be surprised. In relationships, you cannot talk to someone for a week. And if you meet and you love each other, you can be surprised how far that one conversation dissolves all the bad mess and lets you move on right away. It's all about intent. If your intent is good, if you're not going there defensive or reserved, part of that advice to me would be don't show up if you're not there to try to get back together. Don't go somewhere for closure. It's a waste of time. It really is. I mean, you can get closure on your own. But if you're kind of thinking about trying to be with someone, then think about when you go to that table to meet with an ex or someone that you're trying to work something out with, make sure you tell them right when you sit down, your goal is to work things out and get back together. Okay. I'm fighting with my boyfriend right now, literally an hour ago before you went live. And what I'm wondering is, do I admit my faults even though he's wrong? He wants me to say I'm sorry, but I feel like he's pretty much wrong. Okay, so in these situations, there's usually more weight to one side. There's usually always someone who's done a little more than the other, or maybe a specific incident happens. Typically what happens when people get in these fights, they start bringing up everything, okay? And I like to call it the house on fire method. You can only put one room at a time out. So if you start getting defensive, what that does, it starts making you want to bring up more stuff. And then you start playing tennis with it, right? If they say something, you'll say, oh yeah, well, this one time you did this and that hurt my feelings too. They're not actually trying to conquer what you're talking about. They're trying to deflect and then throw something back at you. So what's important is at the beginning of the conversation, say, hey, let's literally tackle this one subject. And if there's something you need to talk about, let's do that in the next conversation. That way you're both getting dedicated time to the actual issue that you're trying to work out. Yeah, and I would say be open to the other person's point of view. Remember, your whole goal here is to work things out. So if your whole point is to work things out, why would you not do that? Okay. So if you want to work on a relationship, everything you have needs to be invested in that. If you go to the table with any kind of mode where you're not really sure how you feel or what you want to do, what's going to happen is you're going to run into a brick wall in a relationship, and you're not going to understand why you're not communicating, why you're not getting along. And I bet if you rehearse like the last 3 conversations you had, somewhere in there, 3 things happen. Someone says something that hurt the other's feelings. There's been a lack of understanding, or someone's waiting for someone to bring up or talk about something versus bringing it up themselves. So my advice would be is if there's something you want to say, then say it. Don't wait. Okay. Let's see. What's a recipe for a healthy relationship? We'll have a bunch of videos on this, but I'll give you like some quick breakdowns. A healthy relationship needs to have about, I'd say, 10 to 12 things. Maybe not all of them working at all times, but it needs to have the majority of them. Number one is when you're with this person, do you feel like you have compassion towards each other? Okay. That doesn't mean like they don't see things your way. That means in general, are they there for you when you're talking to them in an intimate way? Okay. We're talking about romance, not friendship. The second one I would say would probably be, are they growing with you? Do they want to grow together? Are they trying to get you? Are they pushing you to achieve goals so that y'all can grow together versus just, the whole notion of people should just accept us for who we are. Bullshit. We change all throughout our life constantly. We're constantly shedding skin. We're constantly evolving. There is no such thing as accept me for who I am. What you're really saying is the things that I initially brought to the table need to remain intact so that I can still love you for those things. And as new things come along, we evolve together on them. Another one would be, are most of your values and kind of worldviews the same? Are you conservative? Are you religious? Are you liberal? Are you nonconformist? Are you an atheist? Do you not believe in those kind of things? Do you want children? Do you not want children? Do you think military is wrong? Do you think guns are wrong? All these kind of things that you need to think about all this stuff. Does this person have a sense of humor if I'm telling jokes and they're not laughing? Well, of course they do. The deal is not everybody's humor is the same. So you shouldn't be offended by something like that. Next question. How long do I wait before I contact my ex back? Well, it depends who did the breaking up. Okay. So if your ex dumped you, then you wait for them to contact you, period. You might say one thing. You can send one message and say, hey, this isn't what I wanted. I still want to work on this. If you change your mind, give me a ring. Right? And walk away. I mean, act like, I hate to say it, but act like they're dead to you. Because if someone dumps you, they've made a decision. Now, if they dumped you, but then they came back and said, hey, I thought about it. I was wrong. Or, hey, I want to talk to you about it. We're not. They're basically saying they regret the decision. If they do contact you, you need to interact with that. Okay. You can't just ignore that because you're upset or angry because you're going to miss an opportunity to bring that together. What if I did the dumping? Well, if you did the dumping, that's what I said. You basically say to them, hey, I sorry I was a jackass. I regret that decision. I want to work this out with you. Is there a time we can meet and talk about things? If you got dumped, once they contact you, like I said, you need to interact with that conversation. If you don't, you are ultimately sending the signal that you are done. And remember, if you say that, they may actually move on and you may regret it a couple of weeks later when you're alone or you go back out with somebody and they're not what you're looking for. And you start thinking, man, you know what? I actually had something good and they were willing to fix it with me. It takes a lot more energy and work to start a new relationship. If you have a relationship right now that just recently broke up, or I'd say, when I say recent, within 30 days, I'm a 30-day rule person. Within 30 days, then you should go tackle that. If you really love that person, go get them back. Now, what equals if you love them? Is that what you're asking? My advice on that is, look, if you're in the hospital right now, who do you want by your bedside? If something bad happened to you and you had to run to someone's doorstep, what doorstep would you go to from a romance, intimate level, not a friend? Who are those people? Whoever that person is who you're meant to be with, okay? How do I know if someone's right for me? Like more of a quick answer. I'm not really sure. I'm trying to figure something out. It's real easy. Do they bring out the best in you? And do you enjoy being around them? Just kind of put that together. Now, you might say, well, we got in fights and whatnot. So it's not, no, I don't mean if you got in fights, it didn't bring out the best of you. In general, are they trying to make you strive for more? That's the best because, like I said, you're not done growing. So you're looking for someone who's going to push you to go further. I've watched your videos 10 to 20 times each on the ones I really like. and I really got it. But I recently went on a date with a guy, and I think I'm blowing it. Oh, here we go. We got a good one here. And I think I'm blowing it. So I went out. I went out with the guy. We've been talking for almost 8 months. Things are going really well. I had an emotional moment. Kind of went off on him, and now he won't talk to me. What do I do? Well, look, emotional moments happen. If the guy really likes you, at some point he's going to entertain your contact with him. I don't know if I would be completely turned away just because one person did that. What did she say? Do I call him back? Yes, call him. I don't get this about people. It's stupid. Stop waiting to talk to someone that you love. If you love them, call them and contact them. It's really fucking simple. Okay. Love is not a game. You're not trying to get someone. You're trying to be with somebody. Very different. Right. Any handsome guy with good things going for him can go out and probably find a girl that night at a bar. Any good looking woman can go to the bar that night and take a guy home. It's about keeping people, not getting them. Okay. We can all get somebody if we put enough effort in. It's once they know us for a month, do they want to stick around? And it looks like what you're telling me and what I'm reading, you're looking at love as more of a game. That is not going to do anything for you. Okay. Love is not a game. It is in the beginning and like the first 3 dates. It's a game of what not to say too early, what to say to see if they're attracted to you and the right questions asked. But once you're past that phase, if you love somebody, hesitation is a waste of time. If you overthink your relationship, you will drown your relationship. Okay. Spend time with them, enjoy the time. Stop thinking about everything else. If you have something on your mind, say it, squash it, move on from it. Don't sit around and drown your relationship in bullshit. Okay. Next question. Is vulnerability a good thing? That's a great question. Vulnerability is a good thing. What vulnerability tells people is that you will fight for them. Okay. If you are vulnerable around them, they're going to realize you are comfortable with showing them that you give a shit. Ultimately, that's what it means. Some people have a hard time being vulnerable. And because of that, sometimes those people don't feel love from you at all times. Okay. If you love somebody, give them everything you got. When you're in a relationship, one of the things you want to remember is you don't want to ever walk away from a relationship unless you have nothing left and you're no longer in love with them. Okay. If you're just frustrated, pissed off, or out of energy and you walk away, that doesn't mean anything because you're still in love with them. So you're going to end up coming back or regretting the decision or contacting them. So just make sure that you work on that, right? Let's see. I got enough for how much time we got? I got enough for a couple more questions. How do I know if a man loves me? Because he'll put up with stupid shit, okay? And he'll go with you through a very trying time. And he won't just take stuff from you. He'll actually make you work for it. Look, men who love women don't just basically do whatever they want. That's men who are desperate for women. That's totally different. Men who love women will push you to attain goals. They will require things out of you because they think you're capable and you have potential, right? Same thing with a woman. If she meets a man, she respects him. She's going to give him what he wants, but she's also going to keep him on his toes and, sitting up straight, so to speak, so that they're working at their optimal, right? Anytime somebody says, you're always supportive of people's dreams that you love and whatnot, but that's basically what it is. Communication, respect, loyalty, trust, et cetera, the pillars of relationships. Okay, I got enough for probably 2 more questions. How do I express myself? That's it? That's your question? How do I express myself? How do I express? Oh, okay. I rewrote it. How do I express myself when I'm upset and I'm not sure what to say? Okay, so the best thing you can say when you don't know what to say, the best thing to say to somebody is, I'm a little upset right now. Here's what made me upset. Can you talk to me about that? Because usually what you do, if you give someone a platform, you let them know. As long as you tell them you want to work things out, you're upset about something, you want them to help you feel better, basically. Don't avoid stuff, okay? Be honest. Admit your own mistakes. Speak about your own feelings, your viewpoint, your actions. Don't speak for other people. That's really bad. Be open to hearing the other person's point of view because it literally can change the way you feel while you're talking, literally. So don't go in there with preconceived notions, okay? Me and my ex broke up. It's been 2 weeks since we talked. Do I just give up and walk away? Well, it depends who did the dumping. Okay, so or whoever did the last communication to try to get together. So I reached out and I never heard back from him. Okay, so you're like the person I talked about earlier. Look, all you can do if you're in love with somebody, all you can do is try. Okay, and at some point, if they don't respond back to you, it's one thing if you're fighting about it because you know you're both involved and you love each other, so it's okay to fight. Okay, let's get that straight. Fighting is alignment. Arguing is alignment. Fighting is a step above arguing, but it means the same thing. What I would say to you is send a couple of messages, let them know you want to talk, and then go about your life. Okay. And if they call back and it's been a while and you're kind of hurt by the way they did things, let them know that. If they call you back and you're no longer interested because of that, move on. Okay. When are you coming to NOLA? I'm actually coming to NOLA in November. I mentioned that in a lot of my videos, especially during the fall. I went and had coffee like you suggested with a man I've dated for a while. I actually wrote you a couple of weeks ago. We had a rough patch. He said to get the F out of his life, but then he called me 2 days later. He literally said, get the F out of your life. Sounds like he had a moment. Okay. You shouldn't hold him to that. Look, heated moments don't count. Doesn't mean they're not hurtful, but they don't mean, yeah, there you go. It doesn't mean that he was actually calling an end. Okay. Some people can't process what they're feeling, so they say things that don't equal what they're feeling. And that sounds like that's what happened. If I were you, I would have a conversation because once someone clarifies something, you can often let it go. And I bet if you talk to him, he's going to tell him that was a mistake and he wishes he could take that back. And it sounds like you're still in love with him. So you probably should go talk to him. It sounds like he kind of wants to be with you. Okay, one more. I'll take one more question. I'm in love with a man. And we've actually been dating for a while. Okay, well, I hope you're in love with him. You've been dating for a while. And recently, things just seem different between us. I'm not really sure how to navigate it with him because I don't want to break up over it, but I do want to address that things are different. How do I go about talking to him about the changes I feel are happening? Okay, the first thing you want to do is let him know, hey, some things are bothering me. I don't want to break up. I just want to fix these things. What's a good time for you to talk about it and meet in person? Don't do this over the phone. Don't send texts about this. In person only. Let him know how you feel. What if he says he wants to break up because of it or whatnot? That's usually not true. They usually don't want to break up with you. That's usually they can't process what they're feeling or catch them off guard. Remember, men are laser focused people. So they hear what you're saying and they process it later and decide on it later. Men typically don't have the ability in the way they work because they're laser focused. So if you talk to a man about one specific thing, he can usually conquer it with you. If you talk to him about 3 or 4 things, he's going to need to process that. And it's not that men are slower about it. It's that they're different about it. Whereas women will process 4 or 5 things at the same time, but have less focus on all of them. They'll spread their focus out. Men like to be focused. There's a reason why typically men will be like engineers and stuff like that. It's all about focusing on something. Women typically like nurses and teachers and being doctors and stuff like that because they're seeing many patients, many things. Women typically like more of that atmosphere, more of a social component to things. Not that men or women can't do both, but there's a reason for that. So I would say I would sit him down. I would let him know that something's bothering you about your relationship. You don't want to end things. It's so important that you say that you don't want to end things. A man needs to feel that you're not bringing something up because you might walk away. He needs to know you bring it up because you actually want to talk about it. And like I said, if he's the person you love or that you're in love with, that's who you want to be working on, okay? And a lot of people will get frustrated with conversations or they'll walk away or they'll get exhausted by something like that or whatnot. And they might need a couple of days away. But if you're in love with them, return to the conversation and get it solved. Well, then that's my time, and I had a good time with you guys. I will take some of your questions in the next live segments. Let me know your thoughts below on some of the subjects we discussed. Put some questions below if you want me to conquer them in the next segment, and I will talk to you soon.